All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform to bring hazmat response information and training tips from hazmat members from around the globe. I am Bobby Salson, and I will be acting
Welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable.
Every single week, and I keep getting tricked. Every week I get tricked with that thing. God. But it's such a great voice, isn't it? All right. Anyway, I am joined here by Bob Kosh, Mike Monaco, and Phil Ambrose. Jason is on temporary assignment. He will be back, I'm assuming, next week. Anywho, some interesting stuff that come up this week, right?
Yeah,
that news.
A couple interesting things.
Yeah. What do you guys want to start with? Do you want to start with the news, or do you want to start with this? You know what? We're going to start with the news. I'm gonna make the call. We're going to start with the news because this was one of those news that was sent out on HazmatNation.com. If you're not on that thing and you're not signing up for that, you're not in the loop. There was, and I'm going to give you the short version of this thing. You know what? I'm going to read News Channel 10, which is, I guess, from Amarillo, Texas, from KFDA. This is the news article from them. A fourth person from a family of 10 has died after lethal fumes from their home in northeast Amarillo. Captain Larry Davis with the Amarillo Fire Department said just after 5 o'clock Monday morning when a resident inside the home called for help. The caller stated that everyone inside was sick and having trouble breathing. When first responders arrived at the address, they found a first victim, a minor, dead at the scene. 9 other family members were taken to the local hospital, where 3 more children have now also died. Hazmat was called to check carbon monoxide poisoning, and that was honestly, that's like the first thing you would think of is hazmat carbon monoxide poisoning. But they said further information from the family revealed that aluminum phosphate. Now, I want to pause there for a second because we did do a little further investigation. It is not aluminum phosphate. It is aluminum phosphide, IDE, was used underneath the home for pest control. And experts say that when aluminum phosphide and water are mixed, it creates phosphine gas that is a hugely toxic gas. Officials say that tragedy is entirely accidental from what they have found up to this point, and the family may have been breathing the toxic fumes for days. I'm sure this story is going to continue to develop, and HazmatNation.com is going to continue to post the newest stuff. But I'll be honest with you, this is something that has been getting everywhere. And what are your thoughts? We'll start with that. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's kind of absolutely crazy. I know that this product in that area is for license use only, and that the person that applied it did not have a license. So it is a good thing to keep in mind that maybe chemicals that are designed to be put down by licensed people should be put down by licensed people. And it was really the first time I had ever heard of it. This is not a chemical that is common in New York City, so this was of great interest to me.
Does it say how it was dispersed or anything?
No, unless Phil, do you have anything about that? Because I found out that, well, we'll get to that a little later, but from what I understand, it was kind of like the Italian broom, with the old hose pushing, just right down the driveway kind of thing.
We don't yet, although we will mention that we are in contact with some people that were familiar with the call, more familiar than probably anybody sitting in this room, and are going to get more details with the goal of the hazmat responder lessons learned. But when you said that about the license side, it's funny because it's kind of like how we train on DOT placards. Yeah, that's the highway hauler that's doing his or her job, right? It's the ones that aren't doing their job that don't put the placards on that we got to worry about. In this case, I don't know. I remember back in the household hazardous waste days, you'd come across some malathion and, you take that home and use it because it was better. And in this case, I don't know how they procured it, but it's not impossible to procure the stuff and then use it. Obviously, they thought it was going to get rid of their vermin infestation.
Well, this stuff, and I'm just going to go through a couple of things because I did a little bit of an investigation before this. The NFPA 704, which is the diamond, I think everybody knows that. In the health, 4 is the worst. In the blue health box, it was a 4, the worst, and flammability, it is also a 4. So this is some bad stuff. And then in the bottom where it has a special hazards, it also has that W with the line through it, which means do not combine with water. It could either be, explosive or react violently. From what I understand, and again, this is hearsay as far as I'm concerned, until we have it in solid terms. This guy was using the garden hose to kind of rinse some excess down the walkway, and the old what we call the Italian push broom, and that was the impetus for the reaction and the off gassing.
Yes, that's that is the information I got. I will say that I am thank you to Raul Cardona. I'm sure I just destroyed his name, but he was able to through 6 degrees of separation, get me in touch with a person on scene. And
Kevin Bacon?
Yes.
Kevin would say
yes.
Kevin Bacon.
We'll just say it's Kevin Bacon.
And he was able to fill us in a little. I don't want to say too much because this, people did die, so there is an investigation going on, and I don't want to get anybody jammed up. But I will say that they did a remarkable job going on scene, determining that the first 2 things that were confronted with them, the first thing that they were told was that it was a CO run. And through signs and symptoms, they determined very, very quickly that this could not have been a CO run, which is, that's an impressive thing to have happen when you're responding in and you're told signs and symptoms, and the guys in the back turn around and go, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. Those don't match up." So I want to give some pretty good kudos to that fire department, because that's to be able to do that on the fly is pretty good. Then they got there, and they were initially told that it was a rat poison, that the family members had put out rat poison, and they did some research on the rat poison and determined that it was similar to Coumadin, that Coumadin-based rat poison, and that the signs and symptoms that were being displayed didn't match that either. So they turned around and go, well, this can't be it. So they continued their search until they found a container with the chemical name on it, approached the I guess the head of the household, and he finally was able to say in broken English what had happened. And what happened was it was placed down. The family members started getting sick, so he went ahead and he tried to rinse it away, and the family members got even sicker.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And again, we're trying to bring you as many facts as we are able to bring you, without stepping over that line. We're not journalists. We're hazmat guys. And there is a fine line where if we step over, giving you all the information that we have actually garnered that may impact a scene, that would be bad for us, bad for you.
Because this is something that I'm hoping that this opens up a door to everybody else. This was posted on a Facebook chat room. It was the Hazmat 2 group. Yes. If anyone here is not part of it, I highly recommend it, because great stuff comes through there. And I put out a general message that said, hey, listen, I would love to get anybody that was on scene on the podcast to actually do a hot wash. And within moments, I had 2 people that said, I'm going to have somebody call you, and it got done. So we're going to be able to take all the information that happened, do a complete hot wash, lessons learned, what they saw, what they did, get it audio archived, and everybody can learn from it. Right. And this is the kind of thing, this was really one of the driving goals to this whole entire endeavor, was to start taking experiences that everybody's having from across the country and putting them together. So I can learn something from him without ever having been on that run. And I think the power of that is just absolutely fantastic.
Well, what I was driving towards is that, there are no facts right now. And as one of our hazmat trolls is out there just saying that we need facts, not opinions. Unfortunately, we can't give those facts out, even if we knew them, because you know what? There is no facts in the beginning. So if we were to do our normal little play here on the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable and say, all right, I'm going to plug in Bob into one seat, Mike into another seat, and another seat, we don't know. We don't know anything. And how would we play this thing? And, maybe next week when more facts come out, then maybe we'll plug ourselves back in the same seats and see how those should continue. But, what I'll say is, well, let's mix it up a little bit. Mike's the IC, Bob's the Bob's the tech, and Phil is the rig commander. No, all right, you be the host. Whatever you need. I'll be the rig commander.
What do you want to do, Cap? What do you want to do, Cap?
What do you? So let's start out at the first guy that's going to be off the rig is probably going to be the boss. So let's start with Phil. Take me on the wide view. Get me on the seriously the fisheye lens. You're coming up to a scene. 10 people in a house, or I think it's a house. I'm almost sure it's a house, right?
It was a trailer.
It was a trailer. 10 people in a trailer. You walk up to the door, and there's a kid right there, minor dead. What's the first? What are you doing? Like, all right, boom. What are you doing?
Boom. And first, let me point out, because this is just like the gray area, that whoever was first in on that, I imagine they were there for an EMS call. So let's put this in perspective. And
let's say you're the first due engine on the EMS call.
You're walking in, and what are you doing on an EMS call? You're carrying your bags. You're as everybody should, but as a company officer, I'm taking the big picture of the house, looking at windows, and you are presented with somebody down. Now, any of us that have been active duty for long enough, you've been on those calls where somebody, usually when a child's deceased, they're running out with the kid in their arms to you, meeting you at the door, correct?
Right.
It's not a fun scene. In this case, I'll assume it's either that or not. I'm going to remove them from that area, because if I have any inkling that that's a, say, hazardous environment, and this might not even be my hazmat brain kicking in yet, but something's going on in there, I want to remove them, because I like a nice clean working area anyhow, and that kind of solves the problem. First in, they've got a task, because they have emotional people. They're going to need a call for additional resources, their local police department, I'm sure, to help with the family. And you're in a situation there with 10 people. Let's face it, if they're symptomatic, you have enough that you're going to have to do some real quick thinking triage. So that first in, I'm going to try to get a look at everybody everywhere and start piecing things together. I don't know if it happened that way for this, if they had more time to kind of kick the tires, but I know if it presented with a fatality, those men and women got to work right away. And I would bet their focus was right off the bat are the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulate. They might not have even been thinking anything about hazmat.
Go ahead, Mike, go.
So now, all right, so here's, because this is a great one. That's not what I meant, but this is a really good one to study, because here you have, they walk into the scene, they got people sick and 4 kids down. That first due unit, now it's an EMS run. What are they supposed to be doing? They're not supposed to be doing patient care. Now they're doing like a recon. They're doing a triage. They're gathering information and getting it to responding units. Right. So it's like, man, obviously it's an EMS run, right? Nobody's wearing their Scott pack. They're walking in, they're going, holy crap, I've got people sick and I got 4 dead kids, assuming they were able to see all the kids at once. Okay. Now they got to turn around and go, I need to leave those kids there. I need to get out, call for additional resources, put on my SCBA and fire gear, because that's the only protection I have. And now I got to walk in and do triage in a hazardous environment. Because I don't know I got 4 people down in one room, theoretically. I got to do a search of this building. This building's got to be searched. I got to find out how many patients I have total.
That's my first thing, and that's what I was going to throw in there is, if I am coming up there, like Phil was saying, there's certain indicators. If a kid is really sick, he's going to be scared that EMS is there. And if he's not, I should be concerned. Why? If I see a kid that's down in a threshold or in a room or on a stoop or whatever, and there's nobody running out, I got to say to myself, why? You got to start saying to yourself, why? Become a detective.
Yeah.
If something is triggering you to say, my spidey senses are tingling, put your face piece on now. Because listen,
you got to go back to the rig.
You got to go back to the rig. You stop that whole clock because you know what? Air is free. I don't pay for it, right? Throw that thing on, and let's start consolidating some meter readings and seeing what's out there. Is there depression and oxygen and whatever the hell it is? But that's my move. Mike, what meters are you taking?
All right. So am I assuming – I guess I'm not assuming first 2 units, right? I guess I'm assuming that we're now a hazmat unit arriving on scene.
Unit, and then Bob's coming in as the incident commander. He's listening to all this crap that's coming on.
I'm telling you what, I will literally take in everything. Like I get a call like that. We got 2 guys. We got bags. I am turning on every meter we have. I'm getting my SCBA and bunker gear ready to go, and I'm going in literally with everything and probably splitting it between my 2 entry guys and maybe even throwing my officer a couple of meters going, hey, hold on to this.
All right. Well, we're seeing some stuff come in from the side. Mike Moore is saying there's an IP of 8.4. I have 9.96. Either way, PID is going to pick it up. It was also stated earlier in the chat. If you're not in the chat, go to the YouTube page and check it out. That it is a low hanging gas. The vapor density that I can find is not applicable. That there is no vapor density that is actually known. So I would love to see where the vapor density was found. I'm looking in NIOSH, I'm looking in Cameo. I'm on about 30 different sites right now looking for information as these guys speak so that I can either correct or entire, give them the correct information as we go through. Yeah.
And Bobby, if I'll throw in there, because I love it that this is being talked about, because how many times does anybody discuss this scenario? Because just us saying, run back and get your face piece. I know some of the buildings we go into or some of the flag lots, that's not an easy task. And if you talk about it with your crew, even once this year, and you get that call, you're going to have a sprinter go back and get your 4 gas. A quick note on I get the vapor density thing though, but
let me correct myself on this because I did find the molecular weight. It's 34. Now air is 29.
Yeah, it's
not going to fall like a rock.
Can I pause
Mike.
here?
Yeah, please.
All right,
please.
We really need to go to the chat because Todd has said something really, really interesting. Again, crap this week that I'm learning left and right. He says phosphine coats a PID. And then somebody else asks, does that interfere? Kevin Ryan asked, does that interfere with the readings? He says, yes. Todd, if you could describe that a little bit more in the chat, like if you know what the process is that a PID ends up becoming coded, is there any way that we can know this ahead of time? Is there chemical physical properties to look at? Or is this just something you happen to know off the top of your head? If you could answer those questions in the chat, that would be great. Yeah,
and Raul Cardona, who is the guy I think that led us to our
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Yes, Dragon tools are fantastic, but they are what we would consider a secondary piece of monitoring equipment, whereas we have ruled out, and now we are from the classification to the identification.
We've isolated it.
We've isolated. We've said, you know what? It's we've. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. We've done our recon. We've done our removals. We've done all these things. We've started to say, okay, well, it's more of this or more of that, and we started using these tubes to now start really whittling down these million plus whatever 1.4 million chemicals down to a certain classification group or whatever it might be. So yeah.
Okay. So Todd writes back, for those that are listening to the podcast version of this, he's the gentleman that I asked to clarify on the PID and gives a little bit more information. He says that he has looked this up many times, and when the lamp coats, it cannot ionize, therefore the readings will be lower. Todd, my question to you is, how do you know when a chemical is going to coat the PID? This is honestly the first time I've ever even heard of the PID becoming coated. So if you could give some more information on how you know it's going to be coated. Is it a chemical physical property? Is it something that's inherent to a certain group or class of chemicals? That would be fantastic.
All right.
Good question.
Let's just go. We'll come back to that when it comes around to it. Excuse me. Bob, you're in the incident commander. You pulled up in your fire SUV, and you've established your presence on the radio system.
Dun, dun, dun.
There he is. And you've got your cape on. So now, what's the play? I mean, my thought is how quickly, and I know this is such a far down thing, but in this type scenario, how fast do you start thinking about PIO? I know this is not a hazard.
That's a good point. PIO is a lot of people don't think about that. Let me just back up real quick, and if I could, about sending somebody to get an air pack. I'm one of the officers that I'm up to the scene first. That's what I do. Some people agree with it. Some people don't. Because then I can size something up, and hopefully if I see, hey, we do need to have an air pack on, my guy's still at the rig getting out the EMS equipment. He can drop that, grab his air pack on, and come running up with the other three guys. So that aside, being the incident commander, listening to all this happening all over the radio, I'm already calling for 3 additional transport units. I'm calling for PD because this could be some type of malicious act. We don't know. And then with that, if we have a PIO, a lot of departments, the incident commander becomes a PIO. Had them on scene, but you're going to have to also take into consideration, what if other family members are watching this live on the news? There's some information you don't want to let out. So I would be very vague as far as the PIO aspect. Just simply a unknown type incident occurred, causing several people to be sick, including children. It's under further investigation. Done. That's all I need to say about the PIO stuff. If there's evacuations or whatever, yeah, obviously I'd mention that. But my main concern as an incident commander is going to be, hey, how many, ambulances, rescue trucks, whatever you call them in your area, do I need to have? And what was the call, the initial dispatch? What's my first 2 units saying over the radio that he's got? Do I need extra engines? Do I need, all these other things? And don't forget, if it is a hazmat thing, we got to do some gross decon before we get them in the back of the ambulance and send them to the hospital. A lot of the places don't have what's called a hazmat alert, which we've mentioned on the show several times. And I did a little thing in Firehouse a few months back. Email me. I'll give you as much information as I can on that. But basically what it is, it's like your trauma alert, your cardiac alert, whatever. And the hazmat alert helps the hospitals identify you have a situation, decon is being processed, and certain steps are being made so that they're ready and you don't show up on their front doorstep with contaminated or potentially contaminated patients.
Interesting. Anybody else got anything to throw in on this? I mean, because it's kind of still raw. I mean, we're literally, I want to take this show up to the point of the front door, because I think that's all the information we can really get to right now.
222-2222. That ring a bell to any medics?
No.
I'm thinking a bunch of ballet dancers right now with all those.
Yeah, no, it's the chemical ingestion hotline. There's another name for it too, because it sounds like, from what we don't know, through Kevin Bacon, these guys kind of nailed it and were able to narrow it down. But if you hadn't, and if you were overwhelmed with the situation and didn't know the symptoms, you can call the local chemical exposure hotline, and
that's a really good point.
And start giving them that. And I've done it, not with several people but I've actually done it from on scene and started describing to the nurse that answered, who's also trained in environmental toxicology and all the rest of that stuff, and actually was able to narrow down, in that case, a kid that had taken some of their grandparents' medications.
Interesting.
Based on symptoms. And why is that escaping me? It used to be, you remember that thing, the phone book you used to sit on to drive your parents'
poison control?
What?
Yeah, poison control. 222-2222.
Oh my God! What are
It's on
you?
the front page of that.
20 years old?
Was that? Did you have to take it and kind of like ring it like this and wait
Da-
for
da-
it?
da- 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 da.
Oh my word. All right. You know what? So we're gonna come back to this. I like, because of the, you know, I was gonna. We'll talk about this very briefly now. Is that because of this interaction with this Kevin Bacon? We are going to turn that into a hot wash episode. For those of you who don't know, you know, me and Mike have a podcast, and we have a show called The Hot Wash, and we actually break down interesting runs, and we've done this many times. It only comes up when runs are out there, and this is one of those runs that we're going to have a audio podcast on, and we're going to get it right from the horse's mouth. So if you like to, if you don't know about these shows, go into iTunes and find the Hot Wash, which is put out the Hazmat Guys podcast, and we will be putting out soon. And it's going to be coupled with a pesticides episode, which might be 1 or 2 episodes, but we'll see about that. Anyway, that's coming up. Mike, anything you want to throw in there before we get into the next part?
Is the next part the part that I'm going to be going forward with?
Yes. Let me
right.
bring it here.
All right, go ahead.
Guys, I'm glad that there's only 1,700 of you listening, because I just want to let you guys know we are moving venues. We're moving places. Let me say it one more time. We are moving venues. Pay attention to that, because next week, if you come here, we will not be here. We will continue the show. We will be doing it on a new platform. We have spent, $27,000, I think, on it per year. It's a lot of money, great stuff, and it is going to be all about you. That's why we spent the money, is about you, the listener. It's called Webinar Jam, and Mike has the information on it. Mike, please tell us about it.
All right, sounds good. So Webinar Jam is basically it's a means of doing exactly that, webinars. And it allows us to do some things that the Google Hangouts, which is what you're watching here live on YouTube, doesn't allow us to do. It gives us a little bit more flexibility and a little bit better coverage of the people that come on the show. One of the things that it does that I absolutely love is that it is going to enable us to very easily bring a member of the audience into the show, which I really wish we were doing this week, because I would have brought Todd on in a heartbeat so that he could, you know, talk more about this PID thing.
Rotary phone.
Right. So we'll get guys set up to be able to do that. That's one of the big reasons why we're doing that. Also, we'll be able to do polls and have fun with questions and things like that. But in order to do each week, you have to register for the webinar, and this isn't a terrible thing. Just we're going to be pasting a link on Facebook, Google Plus, all these things, and when you click on the link, let me see if I can get this to work. Desktop view. All right, when you click on the link, you are going to end up at something that's going to look similar to this. This is an unfinished version. Okay, it's going to.
How many hours is that? There's a lot of like explosions and stuff there.
Oh yeah, well, general background pictures. We haven't mastered the registration page, but if you look here, if you do click here, all right, that's going to bring you to register for this. And basically, what you do is you type in your email address, your name and your email address, and that's going to send you an email at that moment, and also just before the show with the link to the show. So all you have to do is open up your email, click on it. It's going to bring you right to the show.
Now, Mike, we have another show next week. They don't have to enter it every week, right? It'll just say, "Hey, there's a show starting next week. Are you coming?"
Yeah, there will be a almost like a replay ability where the people that sign up will automatically get an email for the next show coming up. So, and if you can't find that email, you always just go on to whatever social media platform we're going to paste this over and do it. And when you show up, you're going to see it's going to look kind of like this. So you'll see over here will be the actual the cast. This is going to be the people that are on. And then over here, you're going to have your comments, questions, polls, things along those lines. So it's going to look very similar, but there's going to be features on our end that are going to enable this to become much more interactive. So if I have 3 or 4 people who have emailed me, I've put on the list to get the emails automatically. If you want that, drop me an email at mike@thehazmatguys.com. I'll put you on that list. If not, just Facebook, Twitter, whatever the social media platform is that you go to, we'll be posting this weekly.
Questions?
Any questions?
No. All right. We got thumbs up from Christine. I don't know what else you're going to say. All right. Mike's being broadcast. I'm going to stop presenting you because you got a face for radio.
Who, me?
Who, me?
That's so hurtful.
Listen, I'm in the control room right here, as you can see. I'm in the newscasting, Hazmat newscasting newsroom.
It's like a new episode of Star Trek you got going on there.
I'm gonna make. I'm in the process of making a custom room. It's gonna say the Hazmat Nation. It's gonna be all crazy. It's really crazy.
With lasers, we have
shoot me in the eye, and it's gonna be awesome.
California would have to get a permit to build that room.
Just to finish this thing up, let's just throw some questions. We started for those of you that weren't here last week. One of our own Jason Rogers, who's on assignment this week, he came up with this fantastic idea of doing.
It was pretty awesome.
Let me tell you, it
was good.
It was Hollywood Squares. Remember that show from like what was it, mid-90s?
Early.
That was way earlier than that.
Maybe was it the 80s?
We watched the replay in the 90s.
Yeah. Probably like late 70s, early 80s, maybe.
Jim J. Bullock and them. So basically, it just comes down to 2 people that this is what we're looking to do, is looking to have 2 people from the audience come in here, and they are going to play the contestants, and one's going to be circle, one's going to be square, and the 5 of us, well, actually the 4 of us, because one of us is going to be the host, is going to play the squares, and they're going to have some question like, which UN hazard class is for flammable liquids? And then Phil's going to be like, well, back when I was, hitching up the buggy to, when I was 4 years old, that was obviously radioactive. And the guest contestant would have the option of saying, I disagree. And then he would either get the square or not, just like the old show. So we are going to try to deceive you. We're going to try to make you think we are telling the truth. And it will start a conversation in both the, the comment section and just in general. I think it would be a good fodder for company drills.
And it keeps us on our toes also.
Well, I'm a great bullshitter.
Shut up. No way.
We made it this far.
I can, yeah, exactly. Look, I'm in the control room. I'm in the control room. Do you guys ever see where I actually? You know what? I should show this. This is where I really am. I'm in front of the people are like, oh, like Cal, he's really no, I'm really not. I'm just a jerk.
Yeah, last week was good. We got a lot of interaction between a lot of people, and a lot of things that I had forgotten about. Quite honestly, pulled a lot of stuff out of my butt that I guessed mostly wrong. But that's all right.
I was terrible.
Remember, it's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Yeah,
indeed.
True.
Oh my goodness! All right, I'll throw one or two of these things out at you. We'll just throw these things out there. Let's find out.
I also have all the quiz results too, Bobby.
Got them
at some point. I was actually breezing through. Somehow, I don't know if it's the same. I can't tell if it's the same people taking it, but people got better at the quizzes somehow. I'm not sure. They took them more, but it was atrocious. The industrial fire quiz initially, the results were sad, but they've gotten better. But we have those we can go through at some point. Also, if anybody's interested, they can opine on the side if they care. And those quiz questions were all generated by people in this room.
Wow, I love it. Are we done?
You're the only one in your room, Phil.
Said they were behind me. I didn't know what we had time for, but I have that. And if that overwhelmingly, if all 17,000 people start wanting us to go through at least the answers to some of the quizzes, we can, because I learned quite a bit from those. And the industrial fire quiz was mostly Ryan Henry from Louisiana that helped us with that, come up with the questions.
Well, we'll definitely fit that into next week's episode. Let's go around the table and find out where we're going to be. Bob, what are you going to do and what are you going to say?
We've got actually Fire Rescue East here in Florida in 2 weeks. We're going to be doing the gray area, coincidentally, where kind of like what we're talking about tonight, the gray area where EMS meets Hazmat and hands-on Hazmat using some HazSim equipment. Nice. And then we got what? We got FDIC, and then Baltimore. We got a lot of things coming up in the first quarter of the new year. So good stuff.
All right, Mike, where are you?
I'm currently at my home, but
right.
I will be doing some presentations. I think the first presentation we have is up in the New York State Fire Academy. We've got something going on in April.
That's my home turf.
Yeah, so we're going to be, if you're in the area, I highly recommend you stop by. They do something really interesting that I haven't seen anybody else do yet, not that we've been to a ton of these. They have the same lecture go on multiple times. So if you miss one person's lecture, you can go the next day and watch it again. Because they were like, hey, can you do your oxidation lecture like 18 times? And I was like, what?
All right, I'll burn it to place.
Yeah. So that's the first place we'll be. What's the other place we're going to in June?
I think we're going to the International Association of Fire Chiefs in Baltimore. We're going to Cold Zone, Hot Zone, and I don't think we're going to Continuing Challenge because they weren't very receptive, I will say. I saw that face. I felt like lock it.
Huh.
And as a side note for Baltimore, those that were hanging out with us at the bar last time for the roundtable social, shall we call it, we're going to try and do the same thing again this year at the same locale. So stay tuned.
Yes. Mike, anything else?
No, I unless I'm forgetting stuff, which I do often.
That's all right. We'll talk to we'll get around to that. Phil, go with the urgent.
Bob said most of it. Looking forward to Daytona Beach, Florida. Thank you, Todd Burton, once again. He had actually sent me a text that he's just going to be listening only, and I knew he couldn't resist. And thanks for his comments. It changed the show. And I don't mean to be cheesy, but this is the first show of the Say New Year. And wow, what an awesome group of experts. And I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at their comments on the side. I think what this does is bring together some great people. I love the fact that I can call just about all those people on the list, at least the ones I recognize, friends. And man, we're all in this together. Because even the call we went over, I doubt that team had ever thought they'd have something like that, or maybe had been on one before. Maybe they had. Maybe it was old hat to them. But I know most hazmaters would say, wow, that was unusual. And I'm glad that we're able to talk about it and learn from it so we can get better, because any of us can have that career call.
And you can reference back on these things in the afterplay if you go to the YouTube, the event. But please, if you're already listening or watching this show, tell your friends, because the deeper the gene pool gets over here, the better the content gets, because we're drawing for it. As it's happening, we're watching I'm watching it. And if something really good comes across there, and maybe it's, it's not a sales pitch or something like that, I'm going to mention it. And then we're going to talk about it live right here.
And the people that are on here, it's the same 16 people every week, right? It's the same guys and gal, maybe two gals, or someone's transitioning, whatever. Get a hold of us so that we can show you what needs to be done to become, to get your audio able to be used on the air. That way we can know that you're ready to go. We can bring you on when you have something of interest, make sure that your audio is good and usable, and then really incorporate everyone else onto the show.
Absolutely. Listen, this is not a closed forum. We have no problem bringing people on this show. We just need to make sure that your audio is clean. And this goes back actually to the last guy that we were asking was Jason Kerr, and the guy was insane. He had like firecrackers and things going off, and the people running around, and he was drinking out of the bottle, and it was insane. So we are more than but he has a face for radio. Thank you, Todd. I have to actually talk to you on the side. We'll get an email to you. But we are opening this up, and the new venue brings up to what, 10 people, Mike?
The new venue will. Yes, we can bring 10 people on at once.
10 people on at once. Now, I'm sure we're not going to bring up to 10 people because I think it would be a little bit confusing, to be perfectly honest here, for even the host to be able to quarterback that whole thing. But we want you on. It is not a 5-guy thing where we have it all said. So he's a level A suit model, Kevin Ryan. Awesome. I love that. Yes. So, yeah, we are doing that. And as far as me, my name is Bobby Salson. I am one of the co-hosts of the Hazmat Guys podcast, along with Mike Monaco over there. And we are a podcast that deals with these terribly complex topics of chemistry and hazardous materials response. And we break it down to the 5th grade level. And this is the first of the year, right? It's coming out this Friday, where we had a great interview with Greg Knoll, who is the chairman of NFPA 472. Really good dude. One of the, I don't want to call him a dinosaur. That's not the right word. He's one of the trailblazers. He's one of the guys that was
Trailblazer.
In the Wild West before the shit went down. And
I was going to say protozoa, but okay. Trailblazer.
Amoeba, single cell. Anyway. But listen to that one, and we have a couple of other episodes coming up that are going to be a little bit more funny. But I hope you enjoyed the last one. I got actually a couple of emails about the last one we just put out, which was on acute toxic classroom syndrome. That seems to be well received. But anyway, go to our Facebook pages on Hazmat Nation and the Hazmat Guys, and be sure to catch next week's show. Live every Tuesday at 9:15 hours Eastern Standard Time on our new platform, which is going to be webinarjam.com. Correct?
You have to get to the link. Yep, you have to get to the link, and you have to register.
Yeah, or else you can't come in, and that's all it is. It's just put your email in, and the world is your oyster. It's all in there. So we also produce a podcast version of this live on iTunes every week under the Hazmat Guys Nation. And we also post this show on, even with the new venue, right, Mike? It's going to be on the YouTube channel that we currently have.
Correct.
There will be no changes in that. In which you can find our YouTube channel on the THMGnation at gmail.com. And that is it. Thank you very much for coming out this week, and we'll see you next week.
Be safe.
Bye.
Sweet dreams.